This is Jeff Blair from Sportsnet. I may not like chicken wings, but I do like the walk-off with Scott and Adam.
So let's talk catching really quick here. It is because personally, I think it's one of the most intensive positions in all of sport. It's just you see it time and time again, right? It takes 4 to 5 years in the bigs for guys to just be able to call a good game, to
Mm-hmm.
be comfortable managing a pitching staff, to even get to know the psychology of their pitching, let alone taking care of things on the other side of the plate. And I mean, we just saw it firsthand with Danny Jansen, who between the
Right.
end of last season and before the injury this season seemed to kind of be putting it all together. So my question is, Alejandro Kirk and even Gabriel Moreno, I know he's yet to be called up, but both incredibly highly touted. What is a reasonable expectations for fans to have of Kirk in 2022, and if Moreno gets called up, same sort of expectations?
I'll tell you, I don't know, and I don't mean to skirt the question. I don't know what to expect from Alejandro Kirk because this is a guy who has, going into this year, had only started 48 games behind the plate. Suddenly, he's found himself as the everyday starter for a team that is expected to win a pennant, go to the playoffs, maybe win a World Series. We heard all along that the bat has preceded his defensive skills. I haven't seen. I, I've been a little disappointed with what I've seen from him offensively, but enough people say that don't worry about it, it's there, that I'm prepared to just kind of set that aside right now. I'm interested in how he calls a game and how he works behind the plate. And everything I've been told is that the development in his work behind the plate from last year to where we are now has been remarkable. First of all, his command of English improved, and which has allowed him to communicate more freely with the pitchers. Everybody you talk to in that team says that he is the best catcher on the staff at stealing the low strike. I mean, Robbie Ray worked with him last year and won a Cy Young Award. So I'm more confident with the notion, or more comfortable with the notion of him catching 4 or 5 days out of 7 now than I would have been in spring training. I kind of, I think the injury to Danny Jansen in some ways is going to help bring some clarity to the Blue Jays catching situation, because we know that Gabriel Moreno is the catcher of the future. Dan Shulman said today he wouldn't be surprised if we see him up maybe in May, because the rosters are going to be stabilized in May. You're going to have 13 position players. Do the Jays really need, if you look at where their balance is right now, do they really need Kato? I don't know. I mean, they've got Raimel Tapia, they've got Bradley Zimmer. Biggio gives you cover at a bunch of positions. Santiago Espinal can play shortstop if you need him. Maybe there is an avenue where the Jays do need a third catcher, because let's face it, you're probably also going to have to pinch run for Alejandro Kirk at times. So I think
I think you can get away with not saying probably there, but yes.
probably, yeah. But I think that what this is going to allow us to do is get a read as we get to the trade deadline as to where Alejandro Kirk is, because we know that Alejandro Kirk is a guy that other teams are intrigued in as well. The Cleveland Guardians had a scout follow him around all spring training. So we know that's a thing. That's not like bad reporter rumors. A lot of teams are interested in Kirk because they're looking at the Jays, catcher of the future, and Danny Jansen. Clearly, if you're going to look at the Jays and say, where is there a little bit of depth, it would be at the catching position. So I think this is good, because we're going to get a run at Alejandro Kirk for probably 4 weeks. And then hopefully Danny Jansen's back. And as they get closer to the trade deadline, and the Jays are going to have to make a trade for pitching. They just are. We know it. We all know it right now. There's going to be another bullpen arm here or another starter. I mean, there just is. This is going to allow the Jays, as they get to the deadline, to take a step back and say, okay, we have Danny Jansen, and teams also like Danny Jansen. We have Alejandro Kirk. I mean, if Alejandro Kirk at the end of this run of games is giving you more production than Danny Jansen gives you, and there hasn't been a drop off in defense. Now, if you're the Jays, maybe you're sitting back and saying, is our long-term future Kirk and Moreno as opposed to Jansen and Moreno? So it's a storyline that will really be interesting, to follow, because if Moreno were to make this team next year as the everyday catcher, I can see Alejandro Kirk being more useful to the Jays as a DH / catcher than I can Danny Jansen. I don't want Danny Jansen DHing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the more interesting scenarios. And as I said, I would never say it's a good thing that anybody got hurt, but I think the fact that we're going to get a read of Alejandro Kirk at the major league level right now is probably a positive thing. I'll just admit, I have no idea where it's going to go. I have no idea where it's going to go.